I'm sorry, but I have to be in the hospital for a while. After the test they did at the hospital, they decided it's best to investigate further, so I'm going in for diagnostic admission. Therefore, I won't be able to take care of things at home for a bit. I'm sorry.
Are you serious? Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just to be on the safe side, so you don't need to worry too much. Thanks, though.
No, I'm not worried about your health, Amy. I'm worried about life during your absence.
Huh?
I mean, I'll have to do the house chores, right? I can't really handle that stuff. It's a pain, and I might need to bring you stuff while you're in the hospital. Geez, you should have taken better care of yourself.
I was hurt by my husband's heartless words, deeply regretting my marriage. But his cruel behavior didn't end there. He continued,
Actually, you don't have to come back even after you get discharged.
What do you mean?
I've been thinking about this for a while. Women are such an expensive creature. Even now, you're saying you have to be admitted for tests, and that costs money, right? It's just a constant drain on our finances. I've been regretting my decision a lot lately, wondering why I married you in the first place. So you don't have to come back. I don't want to see the face of someone who can't earn money and only consumes it.
The moment I heard these words, I decided to divorce. I don't want to spend the rest of my life with someone who can't cherish his wife. Alright, I'll grant you your wish and divorce you.
Wow, really? You're probably just saying that in the heat of the moment, right?
No, I'm serious. I'll start the procedures tomorrow, and you won't have to see me anymore so you can be relieved.
Huh, is that what you mean?
My husband looked surprised. He probably didn't understand the situation, and he certainly doesn't know everything about me. There's one thing I've kept secret from him, and I'm sure he'll be surprised when he finds out. About 3 years ago, my husband and I met through an arranged date and decided to get married. My original life plan was to be married by 28 at the latest, but things didn't go as planned. By the time I turned 30, it seemed like I was the only one not married amongst my peers. My mother kept asking me to get married while she was still alive, and I started to feel the pressure. It's not that I didn't want to get married. It's just that no relationship lasted long enough for marriage to be a possibility. Except for one man. I thought we would eventually get married, but during our second year together, I lost contact with him. One day, I went to his house without telling him and saw him entering the house with an unknown woman. Not just the two of them, but two other people who looked like her parents also went in. That's when I knew. He had dumped me. After that, I chose a more certain path and arranged a date, which is how I met my current husband. The first time I met him, I thought he was a calm and kind person, though it may sound cliche. I was in a rush to get married and I thought, why not him, and started to seriously consider marriage. Our parents seemed finally relieved, and our relationship proceeded smoothly until we got married. It was good that I was finally able to put an end to my single life, but my husband began to change gradually after we got married. When we got married, he started to set up some kind of rules for our life together. At first, I thought it was a good idea, but over time, I started to find it annoying. There was a time when I broke one of those rules, and my husband, a bit angry, scolded me.
We agreed on these rules, didn't we? We should stick to them. We're a team, aren't we? We should work together.
He said passionately, but to be honest, I now realize he was being a pain. At that time, I forced myself to agree with him. But after that incident, he started to bluntly point out my faults. At first, I apologized and adhered to the rules. For instance, preparing the bath 15 minutes before he returned home. Having dinner ready as soon as he got out of the bath, and so on. It takes about 30 minutes to get home from work. When he's on his way home, he calls me, and I prepare the bath 15 minutes after the call so that it's ready when he arrives. To be honest, it's quite a hassle. I thought it would be much easier to prepare everything based on his estimated arrival time. When I began to feel this way, my husband's nagging became too much, and I finally complained. Look, I have my own things to do, and there will be times when I can't meet your expectations. Our lives aren't the same every day, so can I just do things in my own time? I promise I'll have the bath ready by the time you get home. My husband was taken aback for a moment, then he looked at me with wide eyes, said nothing, and walked off to the bedroom. Did I say too much? I started to feel a bit guilty. But then he came back from the bedroom. I was about to say something when he slammed something down on the table. When I saw what he had put down, I was stunned. What does this mean? What is this?
Can't you see? I'll explain. This is a divorce paper. It's used to dissolve a marriage.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking if you're serious about this. Plus, it's already filled out. Did you plan to divorce from the beginning?
That's right. I prepared the divorce papers at the same time as the marriage papers. We were strangers living together, weren't we? We can't expect everything to go smoothly when two strangers live together. So I was prepared for this. Plus, I told you at the time of our marriage that we should always keep our promises, didn't I? If you can't keep them, it's only natural to divorce.
I can't believe it. I realized then that the kindness he was showing during our matchmaking was a lie. He was always prepared for a divorce. Thinking about this made me feel pathetic for having been happy about our marriage. Should I just sign the divorce papers in front of me and get it over with? But I decided to think calmly. If I divorce now, it will undoubtedly disappoint my parents, friends, and relatives who were so happy for me. And considering my age, I wasn't sure if I could find another partner if I divorced now. I had no choice but to. I'm sorry, it was my fault. I'll try to meet your demands from now on. So, could you reconsider the divorce?
Hey, is that how you apologize? You need to get on your knees and apologize sincerely, or I won't feel as genuine.
Despite my unwillingness and frustration, I knelt on the floor and apologized to my husband. My husband left with a satisfied look on his face, throwing a parting shot that I should be careful from now on. After he left, I was so frustrated that tears welled up in my eyes and I couldn't move from the spot for a while. I never thought I would be subjected to such irrationality, even if it was to prevent a divorce. I couldn't believe that the man I married could do such a thing with such ease. From that day forward, I found myself being more cautious in my everyday life. Chasing time every day, I always put my own needs last. My life had become completely centered around my husband. He seemed pleased with my newfound obedience, but I was physically and mentally drained. But during these times, there was one person who offered me some comfort, my friend Sarah, whom I've known since high school and still occasionally meet. I had confided in Sarah about my husband's recent behavior. She didn't suggest that I should get a divorce, but she did say that if things continued as they were, I would end up being treated like a servant. I began to think that perhaps getting a divorce would be the best decision. Sarah, always mindful of my mental state, proposed an idea one day. "Why don't you help me with my work?" she suggested.
Your work? But I have no experience, and I'm not good with computers.
No worries. You'll get the hang of it once you're taught properly. You're a fast learner, aren't you, Amy? It'll be fine. Sarah currently runs an online store. I had heard before that she makes a substantial income. I had thought she was still managing everything by herself, so why did she ask me? She told me she could use an extra pair of hands. Looking back, I think Sarah was just trying to help me, knowing that I was feeling stifled in my day-to-day life. I had been looking for a breather myself, so I eagerly agreed. I was unsure whether I should tell my husband about this, but Sarah advised me to keep it a secret. After all, if he says no and you lose this, you'll have nowhere to escape. It's not like you're having an affair. It's okay for a married couple to have a few small secrets. If he asks, just tell him you're going to hang out at my place. And so, a few days later, I started working at Sarah's house. The work mainly involved using a computer, and initially, I struggled a lot and had to rely on Sarah for guidance, but I gradually got used to it. Of course, when I returned home, my life would revolve around my husband again, but having a place where I could take a breath made me feel considerably better. And I started earning a decent income as well. However, I didn't want to earn too much because I was under my husband's financial support, so I asked her to adjust the amount I was paid. But perhaps due to the daily stress, I fell ill one day and had to go to the hospital. There, they suggested that I should be admitted for testing. I hope it's nothing serious, but the doctor said it would be better to get tested, so I agreed. When my husband came home and I told him about it, his response was utterly callous.
"How long will you be in the hospital for tests? And who's going to take care of me while you're gone?"
Well, I'm not exactly sure about that.
Hey, you can't just casually decide to check yourself into the hospital. You need to properly prepare. Get someone to have a hot bath ready for me in 15 minutes before I get home.
I could ask my parents.
Think, will ya? If we get your mother involved, where does that leave me? Don't you know someone more discreet, someone we can rely on?
That's too much to ask. Sorry, but you'll have to manage it yourself. In the end, the husband grudgingly accepted, muttering complaints.
I'll have you working hard when you get back from the hospital.
Hearing this over and over again reminded me of something Sarah had once said. It's okay to tell him he's wrong, and if that leads to divorce, then so be it. Remembering this, I finally stood up to my husband. I'm the one going in for testing, aren't I? Can't you even say something like, take care, or show some concern?
What?
It's the same with the household chores. Can't you manage that on your own? I'm not asking you to manage a large family's worth of chores, just your own. If you can't do that, you're no better than a helpless child. No, you're worse because even a child can learn. I couldn't hold back the words that had been bottled up for so long. What? Have you forgotten what you apologized for the other day? If you talk to me like this, I'll divorce you right away. Are you okay with that? I don't care. Your king-like delusion is extreme. I see. You don't have to come back after you're discharged. You're not fit to be my wife, not being able to earn a dime. I really picked a losing ticket with you. Fine, let's get a divorce. I have some time before I'm hospitalized for the test, so I'll start the proceedings. Is that okay? You sure about this? You won't be able to take it back. I might still forgive you if you apologize now and write a promise or something. How's that sound? I have no intention of apologizing. I want a divorce. And so, a divorce was decided on before I was admitted to the hospital for testing. On the day of her admission to the hospital, he was leaving for work in the morning. He said, "You're going to stay with your friend Sarah, right? But you won't have time for fun anymore. You have to earn your own living, no time for hanging out. Or is your friend one of those women who lives off her husband's money? That man must be blind to have a wife who's only good for spending his money. He's probably a weak husband who does whatever his wife says. Anyway, do your best to earn a living." He left, smug as if he'd won, not knowing that I was actually working. This meant I wouldn't have to adjust my income anymore. And he didn't realize that it was his position, not mine, that was precarious. I went to the hospital for testing, nervous about what might be found. But everything was fine, and I was able to be discharged without any issues. Sarah came to pick me up on the day I was discharged. I was helped out of the hospital, and I started working at Sarah's house the next day. I had already signed a lease for an apartment, and all that was left was to move out my belongings from my husband's house. A few days later, I had arranged for movers to come and help my move. After moving out my belongings and returning home, I finished my work at Sarah's house the next day and found a bunch of missed calls on my phone. The calls were from my husband. Thinking I might have left something behind, I answered the phone. "Hello? Don't call me so many times when I'm working. What do you need?" "Hey, you're the one who ratted me out, aren't you?" "What are you talking about?" "Sarah's husband. He's the area manager." "Oh, really?" You knew, didn't you?" "Who knows?" "Planning some revenge, huh? Pathetic. Trying to ruin me by tattling. You're a worthless woman to the end." "Think what you want. We're not married anymore, remember?" "Wait, did you call just to say all that?" He stuttered a bit. No, that's not. Could you, clear up the misunderstanding for me?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, tell the area manager that it was all a misunderstanding from your side. Otherwise, it'll be awkward if I see him at a meeting, right? If you understand, please let him know as soon as possible. I'll even pay you alimony or whatever if you do." Is that how you ask someone for a favor?" "What?" "Do you always act like this when apologizing? If you're going to apologize, you need to be truly sorry, from the bottom of your heart, right down to the ground." Those were words that my ex-husband once said to me. I won't let him say he can't. Ugh, grrr. "Oh, switch to a video call? I can't see anything through a phone call." He switched to a video call, revealing himself. I'm truly sorry for what happened. Please clear up the misunderstanding with the area manager." He prostrated himself on the ground. But I'm the type to return what I receive, and double at that. Sorry, the signal's kinda bad. I couldn't see anything, so I can't clear up any misunderstanding. Bye now."
"Hey, wait a minute."
The call ended there. And so, this incident came to a close. As for my ex-husband, the rumors spread to other store managers at meetings attended by the area manager. He found it hard to stay and submitted a transfer request and was subsequently moved to another region. He couldn't resign due to his high position and good salary, but the rumors followed him to his new location, leaving him no place to escape. He seems to be working quietly now. Since then, I have been working with Sarah and our business is booming. We plan to expand and venture into various other businesses. I'm truly grateful to Sarah. If Sarah hadn't been there, I might still be a maid today. So, if she ever needs help, it's my turn to be there for her. That's the only way I can repay her kindness.